We're up to the part of we need to handle actually formatting 3 or more items. So I'm just going to clean up my code here a little bit. And let's see. Okay, so we have, for instance, 3 items, and we need to get commas in between all of them, and somehow we need to get an and before the last one. And before, let's just talk about how we can get commas in between them. So here I used items 0 and items 1. Let me show you another way that I could have written this using the join function. I'm going to comment this out so that we can still look at it. We can always go back to it. And what I want to do is I want to be able to put and in between the items that there are. So I can actually just reference. One of the things I like about this solution is that I don't have to reference each of the individual items. So I know that there are 2 items because I just verified that. So I can join the items on and. If we look at, for instance, um, let's say items is equal to soda and chips, I can say and space join items. And it will say soda and chips with nothing in. If there were, for instance, sandwiches in here, then it would just expand that to soda and chips and sandwiches. But that's not the way that we write standard written English. So we're going to use soda and chips. Let's go back to this. Okay, so that should work just fine. Let's verify. We made a change. Let's run our test. Yes, that's still passing for 2, and we're still failing for more than 2. So now that we've looked at how to use that, we could use this as the basis. That's where we're going to start from. It's going to be, instead of that, it's going to be comma space. So this won't take care of the final and, but it will get us a little further. Let's run our program. Picnic with soda chips, soda chips sandwiches. Okay, soda, comma, chips. Who's going to eat a single chip? Soda, comma, chips, comma, sandwiches. Okay, very, very close. What we need to do is it needs to be and sandwiches. So one of the things we can do, and I talked about this in the introduction, lists are mutable. So we could, for instance, say that items, the last item. So how do we get the last item in a list? It's going to be -1. We could say that we're going to change that to be the word and. Let's see, I think I want it like this. I may have to do this a couple times. Plus the last item. So we're going to change the last item so that it has the word and appended to it. Let's save that and run it and see what it looks like. Yes, that works. You are bringing soda, comma, chips, comma, and sandwiches. Let's run to our test and see how we're doing. Now we are passing more than 2, but we're failing on the sorted option. So, for instance, if you're passing here, it's passing soda and candy, but it's expecting to get back candy and soda. So let's talk about how to pass this test. We're going to need to sort the items before we do anything with them. We can say if args sorted. So remember, sorted will be false when it's not present, when that argument is not present on the command line, and when it is present, that will be true. Either way, there is going to be something in args for sorted. It's either going to be true or false, and those are the only 2 options. But we have to find a sorted argument, so it will be present in our arguments whether or not the user actually supplies it. So if the args sorted flag is true, then we want to somehow make items be sorted. So we have 2 options. We could say items is equal to sorted items. And the other thing that we could do is we could say items.sort. So you just have to pick one. For this, I think that I will choose items.sort. I've not verified this, but I have a feeling that items.sort is probably faster and more efficient than sorting the items and then allocating a new array for the sorted items. So it's fine as long as you understand that it has the side effect of sorting the items and it returns none, as long as we don't mix up that, and I stress that a lot in the introduction. So I'm going to call item sort if it's true that we're supposed to sort the items. Let's see how we're doing on our test. Yay, that passes all of the tests. I'd like to go back and just talk about another way that we could solve this. We could, for instance, let's see. Let's comment these two out so that we can still see them. Another way that we could do this is we could say that bringing is going to be equal to joining all the items up to the last item. And then we could say and the last item, items minus 1. That's going to need a space. I believe that is what I intend to do. Let me run it with that. Yes. Oops, I'm missing a comma there. That is another way that we could do this. I'm missing the comma there because I'm insisting on using the Oxford comma. I believe that is the one true way to write items in a series. So I could here, so one of the things that I'm uncomfortable with this solution, even though it's the one I show in the book, is that I'm mutating my array. I don't generally like to mutate my data. And here I'm permanently adding the word and in front of the items. This works, it's okay in this very small program. This is the one and only place that I'm using items, but if this was a much longer program, I would be very wary about mutating a list of items like this. It could be used in some other area, and now I've changed the data, and it could have repercussions elsewhere. Hopefully I've written tests that cover all of my code, and so I would catch such a change. But in general, I don't like to mutate my data. It would be another reason why maybe this is kind of dangerous up here too. I'm calling items.sort. Maybe some other part of my code doesn't want them to be sorted or expects them to be in the original order, and having them be sorted cause a problem. In that case, it might be better to allocate a new list here and call it sorted items and set that equal to sorted items, and then use that here, and then elsewhere let items remain unchanged. So here, this is a way of slicing up the list and not changing it, just simply using, here I'm using a list slice to go up and to, but not including the last element, and I'm joining those on commas, and then I'm appending to that comma and then the last item. So this is a way of solving this without changing the items. So let me just one more running my test. And the other thing, again, I'm going to point this out over and over again. I'm using my tests as I'm refactoring my code. So I figure out one way to write it. Like here, I've figured out how to write items. When there's two items, I can write it this way. And then I decided, well, let me find another way to write it. And I wrote it this way, and then I run my tests and I verify, yes, I'm still creating the same output no matter how I'm doing it. And the same here. I could solve this here by mutating the last element and then joining them all on commas. Ran my test, that passed. And I can also write it this way where I'm using list slices and such. So that is how I would go about solving the picnic problem. I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll continue on with the next lesson.